A luxurious conference room atop the StarTech tower. 10 immaculately dressed candidates sit nervously before a complex business problem displayed on the wall screen. Katherine Miller, the 40-year-old CEO known for her icy demeanor, stands before them in a perfectly tailored suit. Her voice cuts through the tension. Solve this in 15 minutes and you're hired. The digital clock begins its countdown. In the corner of the room, almost invisible to everyone, Jack Wilson mops the floor quietly, his worn clothes a stark contrast to the opulence surrounding him. Jack's tired eyes drift toward the screen. Something catches his attention, a discrepancy in the numbers that no one else seems to notice. He continues cleaning, but his mind is already solving the puzzle. In his pocket, an application for a maintenance position and a photo of his 7-year-old daughter Emma, whose rare medical condition requires expensive surgery they cannot afford. With 2 minutes remaining on the clock, and none of the candidates close to a solution, Jack makes a decision. He scribbles his analysis on a piece of paper, quietly places it on Katherine's desk, and returns to his mop. Katherine glances at the note, her eyes widening in genuine shock. The first real emotion she's shown all day. 5 years ago, Jack Wilson was the lead engineer at a promising software startup. His wife, Sarah, had just given birth to Emma, and their future seemed bright. Then came the diagnosis. Emma had a rare genetic disorder requiring specialized treatment. Jack and Sarah faced it together, until a rainy night when a truck driver fell asleep at the wheel. Jack became a widower, and Emma lost her mother. The medical bills mounted as the treatments continued, but Jack remained strong for his daughter. 3 years after Sarah's death, Jack's company collapsed when their main investor pulled out unexpectedly. With his savings dwindling, and Emma's condition requiring constant care, Jack took whatever work he could find: morning shifts at a coffee shop, afternoon computer repair jobs, and evening janitorial work at the StarTech building. Each night, he would return to their small apartment, exhausted but determined, to help Emma with her homework and tell her bedtime stories. "When will you have enough money for my surgery, Daddy?" she would often ask. Jack would smile and promise to find a way, hiding the weight of his worries behind his eyes. Katherine Miller's path to becoming CEO of StarTech was paved with brilliance and sacrifice. A graduate of MIT at 22, she quickly rose through the ranks of the tech world. She married her business partner, David, and together they built StarTech into a formidable company. They had a daughter, Lily, now the same age as Emma. But 4 years ago, Katherine discovered that David had been embezzling company funds. When confronted, he disappeared with millions, leaving her to deal with the financial and emotional fallout. The betrayal transformed her. The warm, innovative leader became cold and calculating, putting efficiency above all else. Trust became a luxury she could no longer afford. Each night, Jack quietly cleaned the StarTech offices, occasionally pausing to study the whiteboards filled with code and financial projections. Though he lacked formal financial training, his analytical mind and engineering background allowed him to understand the complex problems facing the company. In Katherine's office, he noticed a photo of Lily, a little girl with the same lonely eyes as his Emma, but no sign of a father. Sometimes, he would overhear Katherine's late-night conference calls, sensing the pressure she faced from investors still wary after David's betrayal. On his breaks, Jack would video call Emma, watching her do homework or reading her stories from afar. His neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, an elderly widow who watched Emma after school, would often comment on how bright and brave the little girl was. "Just like her father," she would say, though Jack never felt brave, just desperate. Meanwhile, Katherine would often work late into the night, occasionally glancing at Lily's photo, fighting to protect the company and her daughter's future from the circling sharks who sensed weakness after David's fraud. One evening, Jack noticed an M&A contract on Katherine's desk. His engineering eye spotted a technical loophole that could be catastrophic for the company. He hesitated, then continued cleaning. "I'm just the janitor," he reminded himself. Their worlds were too different, the gap between them unbridgeable. Yet as he finished his shift and looked back at the gleaming office, he couldn't help but wonder what might happen if someone saw beyond his uniform. The apartment Jack shared with Emma was small but filled with love. The walls were decorated with Emma's artwork. Colorful drawings of the two of them holding hands. Of her mother as an angel watching from above, of the house they would have someday with a garden and a dog. Jack had converted half of their living room into a bedroom for Emma, with twinkling fairy lights above her bed to keep the scary thoughts away at night. His own bed was just a mattress in the corner of what should have been the dining area. Each morning began at 5, when Jack would prepare Emma's medications and pack her lunch before waking her with a gentle song. The same one Sarah used to sing. They would have breakfast together, talking about Emma's dreams from the night before, before Mrs. Rodriguez arrived to take Emma to school. Jack would kiss his daughter goodbye, promising to call at lunch, then rush to his first job at the coffee shop where he served professionals who never looked him in the eye. Katherine's mornings were efficient and solitary. She would wake at 5:30, exercise in her penthouse gym, review overnight emails from Asian markets, then wake Lily at 7. Their breakfast was prepared by the housekeeper, eaten mostly in silence as Katherine checked her phone and Lily, used to her mother's distraction, read books under the table. The driver would take Lily to her private school, with Katherine promising to try to make it to whatever school event was happening that week, a promise both knew would likely be broken. The special interview that Thursday was Katherine's last hope. StarTech needed a new chief financial officer, someone brilliant enough to save the company from a hostile takeover. The problem she presented contained an intentionally hidden flaw, the same method her enemies were using to undermine StarTech. As the candidates struggled, Jack recognized it immediately. It was similar to a coding vulnerability he had fixed years ago at his old company. After the candidates left defeated, Katherine discovered Jack's note. Not only had he identified the flaw, but he had proposed an elegant solution, ending with humble words. "I'm just the janitor, but if I'm wrong, please forgive the intrusion. If I'm right, please help me afford my daughter's surgery." Katherine was stunned. How could a janitor understand complex financial engineering that had stumped Harvard MBAs? She immediately sent security to find Jack, but he had already left for the hospital. Emma had been rushed in with complications. As Katherine processed this revelation, Robert Thompson and his investment group arrived unannounced. Tall, impeccably dressed, with the practiced smile of a predator, Thompson had been circling StarTech for months. "Katherine, let's stop this dance. Your company is bleeding value. I'm offering to buy you out at $20 per share, generous, considering the circumstances." His thinly veiled threat was clear: sell now, or he would expose financial irregularities from David's time, causing a complete collapse. Katherine needed to find Jack, the only person who seemed capable of understanding the complex scheme Thompson was using. She obtained his address from employment records and drove to his apartment building, a stark contrast to her penthouse. There, Mrs. Rodriguez told her Jack was at Metropolitan Hospital with Emma. Katherine found herself in the sterile hospital corridor, watching through a window as Jack sat beside a small, pale girl connected to monitors. A doctor was explaining something that made Jack's shoulders slump in defeat. "Mr. Wilson," Katherine said, as she entered the room after the doctor left. Jack looked up in shock at the CEO standing before him. "I need you," she continued, her voice lacking its usual coldness. "And I think you need me too." Jack learned that Emma needed emergency surgery costing $200,000, money he didn't have. Katherine was offering him a chance, but Jack faced an ethical dilemma. Help this powerful woman whose company might be hiding serious problems, or refuse and lose his last chance to save Emma. In the hospital room's harsh fluorescent light, Jack studied Katherine's face, seeing for the first time the faint lines of exhaustion around her eyes, the tension in her jaw, signs of a woman carrying burdens as heavy as his own, just different in nature. Emma stirred in her sleep, her breathing labored, the monitors beeping steadily in the background. "Why would you help us?" Jack asked, suspicion mixing with desperation in his voice. Katherine's gaze drifted to Emma, then back to Jack. "Because you saw something 10 experts missed. Because I need that kind of insight right now. And because..." She hesitated, something unfamiliar crossing her features, because no child should suffer while adults play power games. The next morning, Jack entered StarTech beside Katherine, now introduced as a special consultant. The executive team's reactions ranged from confusion to disdain. "A janitor?" whispered the marketing director. Loud enough for Jack to hear. Katherine ignored them. They had 48 hours before Thompson's takeover would be unstoppable. During the day, Jack maintained his cover as a janitor, while secretly analyzing company data with Katherine. At night, he accessed the server room, using his engineering skills to recover deleted data from David's time. As they worked, they discovered a massive conspiracy. Robert Thompson and David had conspired to create artificial financial vulnerabilities, using accounting tricks to devalue StarTech stock in preparation for Thompson's takeover. Katherine saw Jack's brilliance in action. His ability to trace complex data patterns and recognize anomalies was remarkable. She realized that the polished executives she had trusted couldn't match this man's intelligence and integrity. Jack, meanwhile, began to understand that Katherine wasn't the cold person she appeared to be, just a single mother fighting to protect her company and daughter's future. Their working relationship was tense at first. Katherine was accustomed to giving orders and having them followed without question. Jack, though respectful, wasn't intimidated by her position, and challenged her thinking when necessary. Their first real argument came when Jack discovered that Katherine had approved a product launch despite safety concerns raised by the engineering team. "You can't put profit above people's well-being," he said firmly. Katherine bristled at being challenged but recognized the echo of the values she once held before David's betrayal had hardened her. The next day, she quietly delayed the launch and ordered a complete safety review. One evening, Jack discovered Lily sitting alone in Katherine's office, her babysitter having cancelled last minute. The girl was quietly drawing, used to entertaining herself while her mother worked. "My mom's always busy," she explained matter-of-factly when Jack introduced himself. Jack shared stories about Emma, and taught Lily the word game he played with his daughter during video calls. Katherine walked in to find them laughing together, Lily more animated than she had been in months. Something shifted in Katherine as she watched this man, who had every reason to be bitter about life, bringing joy to her daughter. The next day, Katherine took a rare afternoon off to visit Emma in the hospital. She brought Lily along, watching as the two girls instantly connected over shared experiences of absent parents and loneliness disguised as independence. Emma showed Lily her collection of handmade paper cranes, nearly 1,000 of them. "Dad says in Japan, if you make 1,000 cranes, you get a wish," Emma explained, her voice weak but her eyes bright. "I'm saving my wish for something really important." Katherine felt something crack inside her carefully constructed armor as she realized what Emma's wish might be. The situation grew more complicated when Thompson's associates spotted Jack helping Katherine. The man cornered Jack in the parking garage. "We know what you're doing, Wilson. Walk away now, and there's $500,000 for you, enough for your daughter's surgery, and a comfortable life afterward. Stay with Katherine, and you'll both go down." Jack was given 24 hours to decide, as Emma's condition deteriorated, requiring immediate surgery. That night, Jack sat in the hospital beside Emma's bed, the weight of the decision crushing him. The money would save Emma, but at what cost? The nurse came in to check Emma's vitals, her face concerned at the readings. "Your daughter is a fighter," she said gently, "but she needs that surgery soon." After she left, Jack held Emma's small hand, remembering Sarah's last words to him. "Promise me, you'll show her how to live with integrity, not just how to survive." His phone buzzed with a text from Thompson's associate, "Time's running out." For everyone, Jack told Katherine about the threat. Instead of backing down, they formulated a bold plan. Jack would pretend to betray Katherine to gain information from Thompson's side, while Katherine arranged for Emma to be transferred to the best hospital for emergency care. "I'll cover all costs," she promised. "Just help me save my company." That night, as Jack prepared for his meeting with Thompson, he sat by Emma's hospital bed. "I'm going to fix everything, princess," he whispered to his sleeping daughter. "Just stay strong a little longer." The private room at the Grayson Hotel exuded old-world luxury. Robert Thompson sat across from Jack, his tailored suit and gold cufflinks, contrasting with Jack's simple attire. "I'm surprised Katherine's pet janitor reached out to me," Thompson said, swirling his 20-year-old scotch. Jack played his role perfectly, the desperate father willing to sell information to save his daughter. "Katherine doesn't know what she's up against," Jack said, feeding Thompson's ego. "She thinks she can outmaneuver you, but I've seen the financial models. She's going to lose everything." Thompson leaned forward, intrigued. "Tell me what she knows." As Jack carefully revealed selected information, Thompson grew more confident, revealing pieces of his own plan. What Jack didn't realize was that everything was being recorded, with certain portions to be edited later to incriminate him and Katherine. After the meeting, Thompson called his team. "We've got him exactly where we want him. Prepare to release the recordings tomorrow morning. By this time tomorrow, StarTech will be mine, and our friends at the SEC will be looking into Katherine Miller for securities fraud." The next morning, Jack arrived at StarTech to find chaos. Thompson had released doctored recordings, suggesting Jack and Katherine were manipulating stock prices. StarTech shares plummeted as financial news networks ran the story continuously. The board called an emergency meeting, demanding Katherine's resignation. Security guards approached Jack in the lobby. "Miss Miller wants you escorted from the building," one said loudly for the benefit of watching employees. Jack didn't resist, this was part of their plan, but the humiliation felt real as he was marched out past staring colleagues. In Katherine's office, board members were calling for her head. "You brought in a janitor as a financial consultant? Have you lost your mind?" demanded the chairman. Katherine maintained her composure, neither confirming nor denying the allegations. "I request 24 hours before you make any decisions," she said calmly. "If I can't prove Thompson's allegations false by then, I'll resign voluntarily." The board reluctantly agreed, though several members immediately called Thompson to hedge their bets. Outside, Jack went into action. He contacted an old engineering colleague, Michael Chen, now working at the Securities and Exchange Commission. "Mike, I need your help," Jack explained, sending encrypted files he'd managed to extract from StarTech servers. "This is about market manipulation on a massive scale." Mike was skeptical at first. The news was painting Jack as Katherine's accomplice in fraud. But the evidence was compelling enough to warrant further investigation. "I'm not promising anything," Mike warned, "but I'll look into it. Stay available." Meanwhile, Katherine sought out Thompson's ex-wife, Eleanor, now living quietly in Connecticut after a bitter divorce. Katherine arrived unannounced at Eleanor's gardening shop. "Mrs. Thompson? I'm Katherine Miller." Eleanor's expression hardened. "I know who you are. Robert's latest target." Inside her office, Eleanor revealed years of documented financial manipulation by Robert, including the template for what he was doing to StarTech. "I tried to warn his previous victims," Eleanor said, "but who listens to the bitter ex-wife? I've been waiting for someone with enough power to actually stop him." Back at the hospital, Emma's condition had worsened. The doctors were preparing her for emergency surgery, which Katherine had authorized payment for regardless of the outcome with Thompson. Jack visited briefly between his clandestine meetings, his heart breaking at the sight of his daughter connected to even more machines than before. "Daddy has to go fight the bad guys," he told her, trying to smile. "Like in our stories." Emma's eyes fluttered open briefly. "Are you going to win?" she whispered. Jack kissed her forehead. "Yes, princess. This time, the good guys are definitely going to win." By chance, Jack discovered a crucial detail in old code from the system. David had created a hidden account containing evidence of all transactions with Thompson. Jack realized this was insurance David had created in case Thompson ever betrayed him. The night before the shareholder meeting, Jack broke into StarTech's central server room, attempting to access the hidden account with Katherine guiding him remotely. Thompson's men discovered the breach and confronted Jack. A struggle ensued, leaving Jack injured but able to send the data to Katherine and his SEC contact. The server room was bathed in the blue glow of emergency lights. After the confrontation triggered a security lockdown, Jack pressed his hand against his bleeding forehead, his other hand frantically typing commands to complete the data transfer. Security alarms blared throughout the building. Through his earpiece, he could hear Katherine's voice. "Jack? Jack, are you okay?" He managed to hit the final key just as footsteps approached. "It's done," he whispered. "I got it all. Check your secure email." The door burst open to reveal StarTech security and two police officers. "Sir, you're trespassing in a secured area," one officer stated. Jack raised his hands slowly. "I know. But sometimes you have to break rules to expose the truth." The night passed with Jack in a holding cell, refusing to make any statement without his lawyer present, a delay tactic Katherine had suggested to buy them time. Katherine, meanwhile, worked through the night with a small team of trusted employees and Eleanor Thompson, preparing their case against Robert. Mike from the SEC arrived at 3 in the morning, with 2 federal agents, reviewing the evidence and preparing warrants. As dawn broke, Katherine received a text message from the hospital. Emma had made it through surgery and was stable. A single tear slid down Katherine's cheek, the first she had allowed herself in years. The shareholder meeting began with Thompson confidently taking his seat, victory seemingly within his grasp. Katherine entered with unusual calm. As Thompson prepared to read the resolution forcing Katherine's resignation, the doors burst open. Jack appeared with a bandage on his forehead, accompanied by SEC representatives and police officers. A hush fell over the room as Katherine addressed the shareholders, projecting onto the screen evidence of market manipulation by Thompson and her ex-husband. Jack supplemented with technical analysis that revealed his true expertise. The shareholders watched in shock as Robert Thompson was arrested in the boardroom, his plans crumbling before their eyes. "Ladies and gentlemen," Katherine said, her voice steady as Thompson was escorted out, "for the past 4 years, I've been rebuilding what my ex-husband and Mr. Thompson tried to destroy. I've made mistakes along the way, perhaps the greatest being that I started to believe that business was just about numbers and strategy, not about people." She gestured toward Jack, who stood quietly by the door. "This man, who many of you saw as just a janitor, recognized a threat to our company that our entire financial team missed. He risked everything to help us, asking only that we help his daughter in return." Applause erupted as the truth became clear. Board members unanimously apologized for doubting Katherine. In a voice filled with newfound warmth, Katherine announced her decision to appoint Jack as StarTech's new chief technology officer, with a salary sufficient to cover Emma's surgery and secure her future. Sometimes, she told the assembled shareholders, our most valuable assets are hidden in plain sight, doing the work no one else notices. Jack stepped forward, uncomfortable with the attention but determined to speak. I didn't do this to become an executive, he said simply. I did it because it was right, and because a little girl needed help. In my experience, the measure of a company isn't its stock price or market share, it's how it treats people who can't offer anything in return. StarTech has the opportunity to be that kind of company. His words resonated through the room, touching even the most hardened executives who had forgotten why they entered business in the first place. Later that day, Jack and Katherine visited Emma together. The little girl was pale but smiling, already showing signs of the resilience that defined her father. Katherine brought Lily, who immediately climbed onto Emma's bed, showing her the stuffed unicorn she had brought as a gift. As the girls chatted, Jack and Katherine stood by the window, watching the sunset over the city. Thank you, Jack said quietly. Not just for Emma, but for believing in me when you had every reason not to. Katherine's hand briefly touched his. Thank you for reminding me who I used to be, who I want to be again. 3 months later, Emma successfully completed surgery and was recovering well. Jack and Katherine established a StarTech charitable foundation to help families with children suffering from rare diseases. At the foundation's launch event, Emma and Lily stood together on stage, presenting scholarships to children from disadvantaged backgrounds. The girls had become inseparable friends, finding in each other the sisterhood both had longed for. Katherine had transformed her management approach, putting people before profits. She often told new employees, never underestimate someone based on appearances or job title. Our janitor turned out to be the genius who saved our company. The foundation quickly became known for its innovative approach to healthcare accessibility. Jack designed a platform connecting families facing similar medical challenges, creating a support network that extended beyond financial assistance. Emma, still recovering but growing stronger each day, became the face of the foundation, her courage inspiring donations from across the industry. Lily, once shy and withdrawn, blossomed in her role as Emma's assistant, helping organize events and speaking confidently to potential donors about their mission. Jack settled into his role as CTO with natural ease, his engineering background and practical experience bringing a fresh perspective to StarTech's product development. He insisted on maintaining close connections with every level of the company, often joining the maintenance staff for lunch or helping junior developers troubleshoot problems. His approachable leadership style transformed the corporate culture, breaking down hierarchies that had previously stifled innovation. Under his guidance, StarTech developed a groundbreaking medical monitoring system, inspired by the equipment that had helped Emma, technology that would make critical care more accessible to families without financial resources. Katherine found herself changing in ways she hadn't anticipated. The Ice Queen reputation that had once seemed necessary for survival melted away, as she rediscovered the joy in mentoring young women in tech. Spending quality time with Lily, and building something meaningful, rather than just profitable. She and Jack developed a working relationship based on mutual respect and complementary strengths, her strategic vision paired with his technical brilliance and human touch. Their weekly strategy meetings often extended into dinner, where conversation would drift from business to personal dreams, shared experiences of single parenthood, and eventually, tentative plans for the future. A year after these events, StarTech became the most admired company in Silicon Valley, not just for its business success, but for its humanitarian corporate culture. Jack was invited to speak at universities about his journey from janitor to executive. His story inspired thousands with its message about the value of integrity and kindness. The press called it the janitor's algorithm, a formula for success based on seeing the potential in every person regardless of their position. At one such speaking engagement, Jack noticed a young man in worn clothes sitting in the back row, taking meticulous notes. After the talk, Jack approached him, learning he was a maintenance worker at the university who attended lectures during his breaks. Remembering his own past, Jack arranged a scholarship and mentorship for the young man. When a reporter asked why he'd gone to such lengths for a stranger, Jack simply replied, "Because someone once saw beyond my uniform to the person underneath. I'm just paying it forward." Robert Thompson became an unexpected ally, using her insider knowledge of Robert's operations to help authorities uncover similar schemes at other companies. Her expertise in identifying financial manipulation patterns saved several businesses from the fate that had nearly befallen StarTech. Katherine offered her a position leading the foundation's financial oversight committee, giving Eleanor a chance to rebuild her career on her own terms. "We women who have survived difficult men need to stick together," Katherine told her, a new solidarity replacing her former isolation. The case against Robert Thompson made headlines for months, exposing corporate manipulation tactics that had gone undetected for years. Jack and Katherine were called to testify before a congressional committee on market regulation, their story highlighting both vulnerabilities in the system and the potential for ethical leadership to make a difference. Their testimony led to regulatory reforms designed to protect smaller companies from predatory acquisition tactics, earning them both recognition as corporate reformers, a far cry from their previous roles as janitor and ice queen. Emma's recovery progressed steadily, each milestone celebrated by their expanding circle of friends and chosen family. The one-year anniversary of her surgery coincided with StarTech's annual picnic, now a genuine community event rather than the obligatory corporate function it had once been. Emma and Lily organized games for employees' children, their laughter carrying across the park where just a year earlier, both had been isolated in their separate worlds of loneliness and uncertainty. Katherine and Jack developed a relationship that transcended professional boundaries, becoming close friends who understood each other's struggles and strengths. At the joint birthday party for Emma and Lily, Katherine handed Jack an envelope, a certificate making him an official shareholder in StarTech. "You're no longer invisible, Jack," she said, her eyes warm with an emotion neither of them was ready to name. "You're proof that a person's worth isn't determined by their social status." The certificate represented more than financial security. It symbolized full acceptance into a world that had once excluded him. Jack's hands trembled slightly as he read the document, overwhelmed by how far they had come. The girls blew out their candles together, making wishes they refused to reveal despite the adults' teasing questions. Later, as guests departed and the girls fell asleep watching movies in Lily's room, Jack and Katherine sat on her balcony, the city lights spread before them like stars. "I never thought I'd have this again," Jack admitted quietly. "Not just security but belonging somewhere." Katherine's hand found his in the darkness. "Neither did I," she whispered. "I thought being strong meant being alone." The silence that followed was comfortable, filled with possibilities neither was ready to voice but both were beginning to imagine. The final scene, Jack and Emma walking with Katherine and Lily through a park on a sunny afternoon. The two girls run ahead, laughing together, while Jack and Katherine walk side by side, their hands occasionally brushing against each other. They exchange a smile that holds the promise of a future neither could have imagined, where two people from seemingly different worlds discover they are not so different after all, and that families can be formed in the most unexpected ways, through courage, compassion, and the willingness to see beyond appearances. As the sun sets behind them, Jack looks at the three people who have become his family. Once invisible to the world of power and privilege, he now stands tall, his worth recognized, not just for his brilliant mind, but for his generous heart. And Katherine, once isolated by walls of her own making, has found that true strength comes not from control, but from connection. Together, they've created something more valuable than any company, a place where broken pieces form a beautiful whole, where past wounds become the foundation for future healing, and where the algorithm for success turns out to be as simple and as complex as love. "Dad, look," Emma calls, pointing to 1,000 paper cranes someone has hung from a tree in the park, a community art project that takes Jack's breath away. "Remember my wish when I finished my 1,000 cranes in the hospital?" Emma asks, her eyes bright with health and happiness. Jack nods, remembering how she had refused to tell him what she had wished for. Emma looks from Katherine to Lily, then back to her father, her smile knowing beyond her years. "Well, it came true," she says simply. As they continue their walk, Katherine's fingers intertwine with Jack's, completing a circle that began with a janitor's note, a desperate gamble, and the courage to see the extraordinary in what others dismissed as ordinary.